No, I got ABCL.
345 reviews on TripAdvisor and you have 5-star TripAdvisor
So
review.
there's a Dutch palace across the river on the other side, and that was our inspiration. We weren't prepared for that kind of the water that actually rose because there's never been anything in the history of Kerala. So the structure held, but everything else was washed away, literally. So it was too much of sleepless nights. I got out of that difficult space, and you start looking at this work for what it is. I'm here, and I wonder that why am I anywhere else? An ancient, forgotten heritage, and give it like a new age spin. And I remember GD where I had figured out this one thing.
I don't know where that inspiration came from. I said, here in the.
Hi, welcome to another episode of IIM CAT with Vix and Migs, and our third friend Chow. He is out on a conference, so he's not making it today. But for to compensate for that, more than anything, we've got uh, a great guest for us with us today, Rashmi. And Rashmi, I remember you from our IIM days in B Block, and I felt you were very focused on studies. Now, I might be misplaced in that assumption, and I'd love to know a bit more about that. But the reason I'm most interested in talking to Rashmi today is she has taken a very different career path than most of us post MBAs that we have. That we have people go into consulting, corporate life, banking, maybe do some startups, which is tech startups in Bangalore, Hyderabad, etc. Uh, but Rashmi has taken uh, a career path or a lifestyle career path, which I am very envious of. And I wish I had the guts to do it back then, and maybe I'll do it sometime in my life. And I'd love to hear that from Rashmi. Rashmi, is that over to you? Tell us a bit about what you've done in the last 25 years.
Okay, I joined Coke right after Coca-Cola, right from campus,
Is that in
and
marketing? Uh,
yes, sales and marketing, yes.
right.
And I worked with Coke. That was actually a very interesting stint. I worked with Coke for about 4 years and in several places. And I think I discovered my love for the heartland, rural India, as they say, and small towns from there,
Yes.
possibly. That because I'd never, as a kid, lived in India. My father was working in Bahrain, so I lived there most of my life, except of course graduation. So I think that's where it started. I would be really happy being in small towns,
And
and
where all
now
in the
with
4 years, where all did you get posted?
I was posted in Bangalore, Calcutta, Jamshedpur for a bit,
Hmm.
Ahmedabad. While the posting was in the larger cities, and we have to do a lot of traveling to the
Right.
interiors, and there was also a stint which actually took us to interior Karnataka, and we were working
Mhm.
with an NGO for a bit, and it was part of their corporate social responsibility stint, I think. But I really loved that, and I think
Right.
now when I look back at the moment, I don't know if I had the maturity to realize, but now
Yes.
when I look back, Um, I think ultimately I was a small town girl, and then when
Mhm.
you go back to places like that, you feel at home there, though possibly the outward shell and you develop tastes for a lot of things. The heart very much remains. I am at least very much happy in small towns and villages.
Yes, no,
So I
lovely. Because
guess
around the
now.
same time, I suspect I was also doing a lot of rural India. There was a time I was leading rural marketing for one of the FMCG companies, probably going to all those 2,000, 5,000 population villages, mapping them out, and
Yes,
back 20
yes, yes,
years
yes.
ago. So,
Yeah,
so that was,
yeah.
I'm sure that was exciting for
So,
me
Rasmi,
again.
that brings very interesting question. So, you were a non-resident Indian who applied. You are one of the probably the only one non-resident Indian who was in our
Mm,
batch.
no, 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 not like
Many
that.
probably not.
Non-resident Indian, as in I was in Bahrain till my 12th. I did my graduation in
Okay.
Kerala. So
Okay. Okay.
those 3 years
So,
I spent in Kerala, but school year
okay.
was in Bahrain.
Okay. Okay. So
So you had a
that
soft
means,
landing into India from Bahrain during your graduation.
yeah. So what were you doing? मैंने 5,000 10,000 लोगों के टाउन में जाके what are you doing in a small town?
I think we were researching. I'll have to think back, but offhand, what I remember is that we were researching buying patterns. How were these outlets being, of course, and then checking how were these outlets being serviced. What is possibly the distance between two outlets? How many villages can a route cover? Uh, what did these outlets look like for starters? What were their purchase behavior? Who were these people who were coming and buying? What is their life like? So we also actually did go into several households. I think at some point that was also part of the training, and it, uh, it was really quite an eye opener, quite an interesting journey into. I think it was possibly my first time, especially North India. I don't think I would have spent any time there, given that I spend most of my time outside. But it was a really nice eye opener, and I realized I love markets. I realized that I love being in the small town hearts were possibly a place that I really loved being.
Okay. So you're sitting in front of a very beautiful villa. What is that? Tell me about it. I just joined the interview, and what is this
This
villa?
is Cranganor. This is
Okay.
mine and Vinith's passion project, you can call it. And
So where is this place? How far is it from, say, IIM Bangalore? Suppose I think next year we are all getting together at IIM Bangalore. Say some of us wanted to come and stay at a resort. How far is it from Bangalore?
about 12 hours by road, and if you were to fly, it's like just 1 hour. The airport is very close by. It's just
Okay.
25 minutes from where we are.
What's the
So
closest airport?
Nice.
Cochin Airport, 25 minutes. We're very close to the
Cochin.
airport.
Okay.
In
Okay.
fact,
Okay, so you're close
when
to
we shoot
Cochin.
over here and we do drones, we get messages from the airport authorities that
Okay.
you're not allowed to do that over here. So we're that close to the
Okay.
airport.
Oh, so
Okay.
you're next to
Yeah,
Cochin Airport then. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
I think very accessible for people to come
Very.
down
Yeah,
and
So
and it's quite a bit of a shocker for a lot of people that um, we're so close to the airport, or a place like this, which seems like it should actually ideally be about at least 5 6 hours away from any
yeah.
civilization, is actually so
Yeah.
close to the airport.
so
So
Okay.
Rashmi,
yeah,
Okay.
just continuing on that, if we were
you
to
know what?
uh,
You know what?
20,
Sorry.
25th Silver Jubilee IMB, how many people can be accommodated in pure hostel style accommodation? कितने लोगों को भर
अरे
सकते हो मतलब व्हाट्स मतलब उस हिसाब से हम प्लान करेंगे
30 तो हो जाएगा इन
30 हो
हॉस्टल
जाएगा
स्टाइल 30 हाँ
हॉस्टल
इन
स्टाइल
हॉस्टल
30
स्टाइल हॉस्टल
या
स्टाइल
वी
30
नॉट
या
Okay. So that means there are around 15 rooms in the villa.
नहीं
नो
नहीं नहीं यार तू
7
हॉस्टल स्टाइल
रूम्स
पूछ रहा
यार
Seven rooms. Okay. Okay. Okay.
ऐसे
Four to a
डॉर्म
room.
टाइप
So when did you start this project? Like
2011 we started. So we
okay.
literally actually hoarded up and bought. This was actually 5 plots of land. A lot of people think it's
Okay.
a heritage building that we acquired.
Yeah.
That it's like an inheritance or something. No, nothing
Yeah.
could be farther from the truth. So around 2011 is when we started buying land. It was 5 different pieces of land. So we literally saved up and bought and started construction around 2014.
Wow.
We worked with a really good architect. He is literally the Jeffrey Baba of Kerala.
Oh
And
wow.
we had, so there's a Dutch palace across the river on the other side. And that was our inspiration. So as you can see, if you see behind me, can you see these columns? The
Yes, we can. Yeah. Yeah.
ground floor is, so that is actually inspired by Dutch architecture.
Okay.
So that was a
Okay.
brief. We wanted a mix of the Dutch architecture, which is very something very unique to this part, because the
so
Dutch
Rashmi
were here.
is Dutch unique to that part? I would have thought Portuguese is more the Kerala
Both,
thing.
both, both.
Is it?
So
Okay.
Portuguese reigned for a bit, and then they were ousted by the Dutch. Now there's a fort over here, close by, which was Portuguese, and then were occupied by the Dutch. And there's also a palace right across the river. So the story is that the then Prime Minister of Cochin um, was sort of helped the Dutch against the Portuguese. So
Uh-huh.
Right.
read some treachery into this right
Yeah,
now.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in thanks for doing that and allowing the Dutch entry, they built him the palace, and hence the Dutch palace. So you
Okay,
see
Okay.
so
that
you've
little
got
bit
the
of
Dutch
Dutch
palace
civil.
across the river, and you've got the
Yeah.
architecture of inspired by that,
By
with
that
all
and
these
vernacular.
columns.
So it's a mix of both. It's a mix of both. It's both vernacular as well as Dutch architecture. So mix of
Right.
both.
Have we met Vineet? Vineet is your husband, right?
Yeah, you would have because you would have been in campus for break during breaks. He's
Okay.
come a couple of times.
Okay.
It's likely that
Okay.
you've seen him.
Okay. And in so 2011, you guys buy the land, and let me put my India hat on. Probably 1 crore, right, for 4 plots of land in front of the river.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
thereabouts. Maybe a bit more.
thereabouts, maybe a bit more. And then you made this beautiful heritage building, which looks 100 years old, and it's hard to make these 100-year-old architectures in 2011. So you probably spent 9 or 10 crores building it, right?
No, not so much.
Not
Because
so
it
much.
was no, built using a lot of natural material, but
Okay.
not so much. No, not so
Okay,
much.
four
Little
or
less
five
than.
crores,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
4 or 5
Definitely.
crores, yeah.
Yeah.
So total investment you did was in your, call it a dream project, was 6 or 7 crores.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you fund it yourself? Did your family help you fund it?
No, the
Did you
initial
take?
fund. No, it was all us.
Okay,
Wow.
so did
That
you
that's a
take
big
loans to
capital
fund it?
outlay. Big
And
capital
Did
and
you
some
outlay.
take?
loan and some loan and some loan
Right.
and topped up with loan.
Okay, so that means like, and you worked for 10 years in the corporate sector from 2000, graduating in 2000 till say 2012 and
Yeah, yeah,
13,
yes,
because
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Mm.
okay, so it was basically your earnings from after
Yes,
your
yes, yes. No,
graduation from
nothing else.
IIMS,
Earnings and a bit of loan.
earnings and a bit of loan. Nice.
Yes.
And what's Vineet's background?
XLRI.
Accelerate. Okay. And he graduated in the same year as you?
Yes, 2000, batch of
Okay.
2000.
Okay.
Mm.
So that gives a lot of hope for a lot of IIMs, right? IIM graduates that they can work for 10 or 12 years and be able to
Ah,
save enough money to do a passion
okay.
project like this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, 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 sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And had the floods not happened or that setback was not there, then uh, it's a really lucrative space, I'd say.
Sure. Tell us more about the setback because I don't think our viewers know about
So
it.
this was about 6 months after we started. We opened our doors. This was 2018. 2017 December is when we actually started on Christmas Day actually,
Wow.
and 2018 around August, we were told that the waters are going to rise. But there was nothing here, so then we thought it's fine, it's going to be okay, everything's fine. We came back here because at that point I was a little bit worried. The fears then were very basic, if the waters rise a little bit, what's going to happen to my lawn? Is it going to get flooded? And what about my lights? Should I pluck out my lights? We didn't really we weren't prepared for that kind of the water that actually rose because there's never been anything in the history of Kerala. It's not like there was any precedence. So there was no, I mean, no one could have anticipated that. But the rains were much more than they expected, and overnight they opened out 33 dams. So it was
Wow.
not, yeah, yeah. And I think uh, the dams are all brim full for power reasons, for electricity reasons, and Kerala was also going to sort of give power to Karnataka, and they were brokering a deal at that point, and so there was all the dams were brimful. So there was literally no space for this unprecedented rain, and they had no option because the dams would have burst, and that's like another whole catastrophe that would have
So
been much
Rashmi,
worse than what it actually was.
you worked in the corporate sector. You and your husband, you put all your savings and built this up. And 6 months later, there was a bit of a flood, and that was a setback. Did you have to rebuild it again, or could you salvage a lot of any
So
part?
the structure held, the structure held, but everything else was washed away, literally.
So
So
how high did the waters rise? Did it go all the way up to the columns?
ground floor was submerged. We were rescued from the first floor.
Wow. How
Fishermen,
were you
local
rescued?
fishermen. Local fishermen
Wow.
came, rowed, and got us out.
Oh, wow. So the waters, so they could ride their boat all the way to the first floor.
We were all on the first floor.
Wow.
And so we'd
Wow.
evacuated the guests by then. So it was just me and Vineet and two of our staff. We'd said, let everyone
Wow.
else go. And
Wow.
the staff were all from close by. So they all had to do their own rescuing and salvaging their own, jewelry and putting it up and whatever savings and clothes and all of that. So the staff had all gone. And then they came and so, of course, they knew that we were here. We were one of the last ones to go because we kept hoping that the water would subside after a bit. But then the
Yes.
fishermen said that there's a cycle and the sea will only pull the water at a particular cycle of the moon, so which meant another 3 days. So we couldn't have
Wow.
stayed there for another 3 days. So they rescued,
Okay.
took us to the church camp, and we were there for a week. So it was like marooned. We were marooned. We couldn't even get word to the kids that we were safe or that we were okay. So for a week we were
Wow.
completely.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
So this happens. So Kochi is right on the ocean, right? And
Kochi is
what I'm
right on the
hearing,
ocean.
and what I'm hearing from you is that you are right by a river.
I'm right
So
by
how
the
far are you from the ocean?
very close by. As the crow flies, it's probably like just a few kilometers. And
Wow.
you just take a boat and go down a little, maybe about half an hour, you're at the sea.
So how long were you working in the corporate sector, Rasmi?
Uh, I will say about, to be not very long, to be honest, about 5.5, 6 years.
So 4 years
That's it.
you did
So
in Coke.
And
Then
then I worked with Saregama in Calcutta.
okay, okay.
okay.
So HMV
Mm.
Saregama, in the music sector. Why did
Yeah,
you?
art
How did you
music.
make that shift? Was it like the entertainment industry beckoning you,
I
or
think so, but you
something
know
else?
what? I actually loved it. That was one job I really loved. It's like they say about second marriages, no? Like
Yes,
they have a better
yes.
chance of working because you know who you actually are. I
Yeah.
loved that job. So, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out, or there was a time for it, and then it kind of.
So what was the
Uh,
job? What were you doing with Saregama?
I was marketing, and these guys still do have the largest catalog of music in the country, dating from the oldest, that Gohar Jan recording that everyone knows
Hmm.
about. So the project, I mean, amongst other projects, one of the projects that I was working on would have been the precursor to today's Spotify.
Okay, nice,
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah. It was really,
Yeah.
really, really interesting. So one part of my
Yeah.
job was literally categorizing, and we were working on something called those days very funnily termed. Don't laugh now. It was called dial a CD. Okay. And we literally categorize the songs by genre, different genre, and then someone
Yes.
could actually dial in and say, "ये मेरा favorite singer है, ये मेरा
Hmm.
favorite whatever genre है," and then you just uh, throw up a whole options for him or her, and then burn a CD and courier it to them.
Nice.
So that was
Nice.
one of really, really interesting projects, and I was in their studio. So the cassette factory, which then became like a ghost town of sorts, and it was like a huge campus. That and the recording studio was all there in Dum Dum. So I used to work out of that office, and it had this very nice old day antique colonial vibe to the whole thing with this lovely music. So that was an amazing stint. I really loved it.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So tell us more about what happened between 2007 and 2017 because as I'm trying to understand your journey, you are at Coca-Cola, then you are at HMV, and
Mm-hmm.
then your beautiful villa starts in 2017. So what happens during those 10 years?
Okay. So Seamstress happens in the 2011. I also start Seamstress, which is my clothing
Okay.
label. Where I work with handloom weavers from across the country, handloom weavers, block printers, block printing
Okay.
artisans, all sorts of handwork, hand craftsmen. That
So
started in
Seamstress was
2011. There
your
was a
first entrepreneurial venture, even before the this
Yes.
Cranganor.
Yes. In fact,
Okay,
we stumbled upon this place in Cranganore because of seamstress. I
right.
work with weavers across the river, and we'd come there to like I had, and then I said, "Look at this place. This looks really amazing." And Vineet always wanted beachside cafes. I think everyone's dream.
Yes.
Every time
Yeah.
this whole
Yeah.
corporate going, it's discussing it like, "हाँ मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे? I need to
Mm.
open a beachside cafe." Whatever. That was his
I think
dream.
our
So I said,
generation, we grew up watching Tom Cruise and Cocktail, and some of that influenced us.
"Yeah, yeah."
So tell us more about
So that
seamstress.
Mm, seamstress was. Uh, so let me go back a little before that. It's a little uncomfortable conversation, but I think that I would like to say it. So, when my second daughter was born, we had a little bit of trouble. We had health issues. So at that point, I wasn't um, particularly looking to get back to work. I could not even think. For about 2 years, I don't think I even uh, spoke to anybody in the outside world. It was
Oh my
really,
God.
really tough. Now, when you look
Okay.
back and you talk about mental illness, I realize that I was probably depressed, but I
Yeah,
don't think I
yeah.
realized it at the time. And
Okay.
this was seamstress I started working with. I had though I would like to claim that I decided that I working with handloom weavers is my passion. That's not the truth. It was my mother-in-law actually had a tailoring unit where she would customize clothing for people of Trishur, and she said, "Can you work with me? I need some help." And at that point, it was basically between like depression and some work. So I said, "Okay, we'll go in that direction." And so I remember being really paranoid. I would not let her out of sight. So it had to be either my mother or my mother-in-law. As long as someone like literally kept their eyeball on the child, I would be okay to travel. And so that's how it started. I discovered, so literally seamstress got me out of what do you say, a really difficult space that I had found myself in, which I'm sure it's part of life and a lot of people.
Oh
I think
yes. Oh yes. And
everyone
Yeah,
goes through that, and some people
yes.
recognize it, some people recognize it in hindsight, and some people never recognize it.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
Yeah.
so
yeah,
you were on a professional career. You took a bit of a break because of
yeah,
personal reasons, and then
yes,
somehow you came into clothing and that industry. How did you
yes.
decide that you want to launch Seamstress? How did that transition happen when you were working
I
with
think
your mother?
a year into working, initially the working was all very, you know, classical. Just get fabric from somewhere and convert it into like work. Convert it into designs in your own space in the tailoring space that we had, but it seemed very superficial. And I think once my initial I got out of that difficult space and you start looking at this work for what it is, and suddenly one
Hmm.
fine day you find yourself surrounded by a lot of clothes, and then you start thinking that what more can I do over here. How can, rather than just being like a sort of commodity trading, how
Yes.
can one make this whole a little bit more soulful. So
Yes.
then I thought, let's start working with the weavers instead of having middlemen. Let's just go directly to the weavers. Let's go directly
Hmm.
to the artisans and see what we can do over there. So one is of course the joy you get out of working with people directly, because once you work with
Yes.
the weavers, there's all sorts of possibilities. You're learning different techniques, ancient forms of weaving, how you can incorporate into new age designs. And many of them, mind you, while I do appreciate the NID and NIFT designers, many of the weavers themselves, मतलब इतने सालों का तजुर्बा है, they themselves
Yes.
will actually be able to do some amazing designs themselves.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
started something called as the Kaitari project, which literally means like the Kaitari in Malayalam means um, hand woven, hand woven. So I traveled the length and the breadth of Kerala, chronicled all of the handloom weaving societies that there were, and commissioned work with like a good number of them. This With this, I wanted to bring together what was an ancient, forgotten heritage, and give it like a new age spin. So there was the gratification of actually having given back to what I thought was a dying heritage, and the creative satisfaction of having created something that was really new.
That is
So
so inspiring, Rashmi. I mean, you use that. Of course, there's that level of creativity from the people you're already working with, and then there is possibly um a business background that you've come from through your corporate career and through your education at IIM. Did that help you? Did any of that help you? I mean, did Coke help you in some way? And that when you were doing seamstress.
I think all of it did. I
Hmm.
think all of it did. We are all very complex individuals, and so much of where what you are standing on, or the person that you are today, every experience of yours is like a brick in that character that is you today, right? So definitely all of it. I think while you, I'm very glad you remember me as a studious person, and I don't think I was anything of the sort.
यार मैं तो
And
अपने आप से कंपेयर कर रहा था, मेरे कंपैरिजन में तो मैं बहुत लोगों को बोलता हूँ।
नहीं यार, मैं तो आई वाज़ रियली घूम ही रही थी। एंड आई थिंक समथिंग चांदनी सेड स्ट्रक मी बिकॉज़
हुँ,
शी सेड, एंड चांदनी हैज़ सच अमेजिंग क्लैरिटी ऑफ थॉट। आई सेड इसके बाद मैं क्या बोलूँगी यार? शी हैज़ सच
हुँ,
अमेजिंग क्लैरिटी ऑफ थॉट। शी सेड एवरीथिंग लिटरली। एंड कमिंग फ्रॉम स्मॉल टाउन Kerala, one of the major reasons I actually wrote the cat was because I wanted to get out of there. Okay, and this is not what I wanted. I don't want to be here. I want to leave this place. What can I do? Cat? Okay, fine, cat. And something she said, I remembered, माय टीचर सेड द सेम थिंग। आई सेड आई एम राइटिंग कैट, तो उन्होंने सोचा कि मैं ऐसे कुछ बहाने बना रही हूँ कि ऐसे कुछ नहीं, दे नेवर इवन हर्ड ऑफ एनीथिंग लाइक दैट। शी इज वन मोर you know thing she's making up, one more excuse she's making up. So it was
yeah.
almost like an exit or out of small town India. And also those days, the options were, बेटा आगे पढ़ो, नहीं तो लड़का तो है ही तैयार।
So we are going back to 1997, is that
Sorry,
right?
sorry.
So you've come in the mid 90s, you've come back from Bahrain in
Mm-hmm.
Kerala, small town Kerala, and you want to get out of that. So you decide to write the cat. Was
Yeah.
that like an
Yes.
option? यार अभी शादी नहीं करनी है.
नहीं।
Hmm. But अगर शादी करनी है, then you already had someone in mind, even when you came
नहीं,
to
तब तो
IIM.
नहीं था ना, तब तो नहीं था, वो
अच्छा
तो
नहीं
बाद
था.
में हुआ। हाँ,
अच्छा
प्रिपरेशन टाइम में हुआ वो सब।
अच्छा प्रेपरेशन वो ऐसा तो नहीं है कि वो मतलब कि अब आईएम में हो गई है तो ठीक है, मतलब सीवी वैल्यू बढ़ गई है.
नो, नो, वी प्रिपेयर्ड टुगेदर शायद, क्या पता यार। नाउ यू आर डूइंग लाइक व्हाट इज़ दैट? यू आर थ्रोइंग अ स्पैनर इन माय मैरिज। अभी घर जाके विनीत को थप्पड़ मारना है।
You've been married for 24 years now. Like you've been with Vineet for 24 years now. I'm
या
sure
या
you
लॉन्ग
guys
20
have
ईयर।
it. Yeah, you guys have figured it out. Like Mix and I, we cannot throw any spanners.
या मतलब जो जो भी
या
हैं वो तुमने खुद ही डाल रखे होंगे बहुत सारे. द लॉन्गर
या
यू स्पेंड
100%,
टाइम,
नॉट टू वरी।
देयर आर इनफ स्पैनर्स दैट आर इन द.
आई नो, एंड एनीवन हू हैज़ बीन मैरिड फॉर मोर देन लाइक 13, 14, you know exactly how it works, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm in the same boat. So I've been with my wife even before getting married since about 1995. So it's
Mhm.
nearly 30
Oh, the
years.
same, it's the same, yes.
And we've been married for about 20 odd years. And मतलब वो जो स्पैनर है वो हमने ही डाल रखे हैं, किसी और को डालने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है.
Correct, 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 correct. Absolutely, bang on.
Yeah.
Look at this, Rashmi. You have 345 reviews on TripAdvisor and you have five-star TripAdvisor reviews. You have 2 of 18 resorts in Kochi. Achha, so we're
Done.
going to talk about two topics. One, a lot of our viewers are interested in crowdfunding their next project, right? So, Rashmi, you're one of the few people who got out of adversity of being rescued from your own roof by fishermen in their boats. So we want to know about crowdfunding. And the second thing we want to know about is that for a lot of people who want to live your life, like you're literally living in a resort by the river, and if we, for some of us who want to live that life, for some of us who want to get into the hospitality industry, what is it like? How can someone get started? How can someone get started in hospitality industry? So two different questions. How can someone get started
Sure.
with crowdfunding? And how can someone get started with the hospitality industry? So let's start with the first one. How can
Sure.
someone get started with crowdfunding in India today? And what is the potential? How much money do you think, if I was to put up a project on the crowdfunding platforms, how much money do you think I can raise? And what will it take? Some pictures, business plan, my resume? Like, tell us more.
I think it'll take a little bit more than that. I think you need a story with a soul in it.
Okay.
And the ask has to be very, for lack of a better word, it has to be very neatly packaged. And it has to be a little bit more than just a couple of pictures. I I can tell you, I can take you through how we did it. So at the point after we were rescued and we realized that, and we came back a day or two later, and figured out that things are worse. Actually, water had gone up even further than from when we had left. So we're looking at, it was really bleak at that point. So we were again, two MBAs, and I said, listen, we can get our way out of this, and literally we had our backs to the wall and the clothes we were wearing and nothing else. So that's when we stuck upon this idea that why don't we actually take bookings in advance, let people pay for their stay, and they can come and stay whenever, wherever, at any given point in time, and that's going to help us get back on our feet. And I remember wording, there was just a little uh, charge through a car battery, and someone had a little bit of solar. That's it. And I remember sitting over there and then drafting this message and sending it out. I think I sent it to all of you guys as well, and XLRI, Vineet's batchmates from XLRI, and also his batchmates from the NDA. And it I think the kind of support we received was unbelievable. It was completely, we were overwhelmed. It was amazing. I mean, I think I spent like the next 10 days like just crying, thinking, my God, this is like
Wow.
amazing. So then after that, then there was no looking back, because then you just kind of, we immediately, the waters went down and we cleaned. And I think inside of 2 months, that's, 1.5 months, we were back on our feet.
Wow.
And so that was amazing. But what it took, from my own experience, if I can extrapolate, what it took was something that came straight from the heart. And I mean, if it wasn't adversity, and if we actually had to do the same thing, if I had to do the same thing right now, uh, I would, without adversity, of course, I would pitch it differently. But which then brings me to the second question that you asked, which is that, what is it? What does it take for someone who may want to get into a business like this? Is what is at the soul of your place? What is at the heart of a place? Because when you look around me, you can see like a beautiful villa, like Vikas, you
Yeah.
said, I can see a beautiful villa, and there's a lovely,
Yeah.
beautiful river right in front. But that's like the outer shell, right? What's more, what brings this place to life? What's the soul of Cranganor? What are we all about? I mean, kal ko ye hotel agar band ho jayega, what is it that's actually, you know uh, getting eroded or getting destroyed? I think it is the fact that we right now, what we've evolved into is a place where we are giving a lot of we're giving a platform to a lot of artisans. And there are a lot of little art forms. When you say Kerala, you guys will know Kathakali, you may know Teyyam, but
Yes.
you don't know Kodiyatam, you don't know Mudiyetta, you don't know Tolpavakutta, you don't know Chautanadagam. And all of these have such beautiful, rich cultural history. So what we do have, in fact, what I've finished doing today morning is, I was part of a musical trail where percussionist
Yeah.
we call it a panjavadim. So you've got these artists, one who's playing the tabla, like, I don't know the English or the Hindi of these instruments. It's called an edekya, and there's like a komba, which is a wind instrument. And they were doing sort of a demo, and then they got us all involved in it, and it was a very immersive experience, which is what I want my guests to also sort of go through. So that is at the soul of this place. We are in this village, and giving this platform to these little um, art forms, dying heritage art forms, and interpreting it to people who did not even know it existed. And I wish I could show you this video. So there is this dance called Ottandullal. Now it's completely done in Malayalam. It's possibly a little bit of a political satire as well. How do you expect people from halfway across the world to even understand a word? So I was stumped. He said, "You don't worry, I'll take care of this." And I could actually see this was a Swiss group, and they were laughing. And you realize that, art transcends language. And what I am today is a platform. If all I am today is a platform for these artists, I'm really, really happy.
So
So
is
if
that,
that,
Rashmi, is
yeah,
that the future that you see for this?
yeah, yes,
That
yes.
Cranganor starts that platform, and you're giving a voice, or for all these artisans, whether it's music, whether it's handicraft, handloom, and other
Yes.
things. I remember you were talking about the ladies who are from the village who are doing their own little thing, and then
Hmm, hmm.
you're employing them also, and buying things from them. Is that the vision for the future then, rather than just
Yes,
being a
yes,
resort?
yes.
And
Absolutely,
very
absolutely.
nice.
That is who we are today, and I want to, if possible. So that's what I do every. I'm trying to get more and more, and I'm discovering. I'll be honest. Despite being a Malayali myself, it's not that I knew about these art forms. Like, let me give you an example. There is something called as Chavuttanadagam. Now that literally translated means dance drama. This was brought in by the Portuguese uh, to sort of tell the tales about the holy wars, which is King Charlemagne in France. This the entire thing is in Sentamil. Sentamil is the mother tongue of mother language of Malayalam and Tamil, and it is played out on the banks of the river against the backdrop of the church. And the first time I saw it, I was stumped. I was like, "What am I seeing?" And they wear these loud, garish costumes, and they're jumping, and it's recreating war scenes. And at the end of a beautiful Chavuttanadagam, the stage has to collapse, and you have these schools of Chautanadagam all across, dotted across these little villages around the waterways. And imagine that there's missionaries come in from from Portugal, and they have from Spain, and then they've sort of mixed a little bit of Kathakali, a little bit of Kudiyatam, and created a whole new other art form. And they're telling it to the people over here. And here are people sitting in this little fishing village, talking, singing a song about King Charlemagne from France and the holy wars. That's like a cultural melting pot, right? And
Sure.
these stories must be told. They must be
Yes.
showcased. I feel that that's where it comes alive for me. That's the soul of this place. That's the heart of
So,
this
in terms
place.
of telling these stories and this platform that you have,
Hmm.
Rashmi, what's next? Where do you see 5 years down the line? What's your vision that if this happens, then you'll be happy? What's your target for that?
So my vision would be to expand this place. I think 7 rooms is we've outgrown the coziness of 7 rooms. While it did beautifully for us when it did, I think we've outgrown that. We can easily double or even triple, and that would really, it would also be a good sized audience for these art forms. And if this can be just
Perfect.
like a stage where we have every weekend, we have Chautanadagam one day.
So, do you already have the land, or do you will you have to buy the land, or you already have the space? You just need to
What
build the real estate on it.
1.5x to scale up, I have the land, but the remaining I'll have to
Okay.
buy. We'll have to like look at it from
And are
scratch.
people willing to sell? Are your neighbors willing to sell, or will you have
Yes,
to
yes,
create a different unit?
there are people willing to sell. They're definitely okay at that. I just need to like get my act together and get started on this, definitely. Or I could
And
even
just
look at another option of looking across the river and maybe sort of buying out some places. There's that
yeah,
also. That those options are also, I've been thinking
yeah,
about
that's what
that
I
as
was
well.
about to say. Ki do
Hmm.
tin slightly different locations, but then you
Hmm.
can have the audiences converge for performances and things
Hmm.
like that at a
Hmm.
central one.
Mm. And what is
That
right across is actually an island. So that could also be like an added thing where you actually take them by boat. So that's while it is accessible by bridge, it's also nice. You come in here, you check in, and then we take you across the boat
How big
on a
is the
boat.
island? Can we buy the island itself?
Mm, this island, just yesterday, someone was telling me is about 12 acres.
Okay. And is the island for
You
sale?
could buy the I don't know if it is for sale. I can check if you want. But there are issues. Construction issues are there because there's a CRZ rule, that is the coastal regulatory zone, which means that you have to leave 50 meters. Now if with that island,
Sure.
it is very likely कि अगर इधर से 50 उधर से 50 बचेगा कुछ
Sure.
नहीं. So there
Okay.
are those
I think,
considerations.
Rashmi, from what I hear, I think you need another crowdfunding, and this time with full strategic view rather than going in with a with a flood thing, because that's a different crowdfunding, like you were saying. I mean, when you're saying, okay,
Yeah,
here's a plan,
different.
here's a vision,
Yeah.
here's something, crowdfunding में भी हो सकता है. And of course, there are other funding sources now in India. There's debt, of course. It's a bit more liquid than it was 5 or 10 years ago.
No, I think
Sure, sure.
most people in Silicon Valley, they spend some time in Hawaii resorts,
Mm-hmm.
and and I've actually had great time with my wife in Hawaii in a Maui resort, and I think just being in front of the ocean, feeling the peace, and having to pay $1,000 for a night, and here your room rates are like 11,000 rupees, which is like $130 a night. It's just uncomparable. So I think, uh, and I remember the Hawaiian traditional dance happening at night, and I don't know if you charge your people or not, but the Hawaiian resort, they charged us for that Hawaiian dinner and
Sure.
dance evening, but it was a great experience. I think people are hungry for
Experiences,
culture,
yeah.
right? For
Yes.
culture and experiences, and I think
And I think something that I feel is that uh, people want to listen to stories and tell them a
yes.
story in as poetic as the way that you can, through your eyes, through art forms, through whatever. But people always, no one, everyone's still a child wanting to listen to a story.
Absolutely. And
Yes,
see, you're telling them a
so
story
well
and
said.
you're entertaining them through their visit. But then they have a story to take back to their friends, and that word of
Sure.
mouth or
Hmm.
and other things is what they are also looking for. That makes them come back. But more than that, it makes five of their friends and relatives come to you next time.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That happens a lot.
What you said, everyone is a child wanting to listen to a story. So well said, and I think I've never heard that, and I think I've not heard the word soul said so many times in 49 minutes of our recording. So uh, and when I look at this villa, I can see it defies its age. It's not 7 years old. It feels like 700 years old. So I think that has come from your emphasis on soul, on storytelling, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. So Rashmi, just so for me, and see, I'm already inspired in the last 1 hour of doing something like this, and I have no clue of how to do
I'm
it. And you said that,
really glad that inspiring you, Migs.
yeah, no, no, absolutely. So if I were to get into this business, of course there are the normal business things. You have revenue, profit, but for someone who's seen non-hotel resort business, what are the two or three key things that are so different in a standard hotel or resort business? What do you need to, I mean, I know KPIs. I'll tell you what I know, and then you can add to that. I know कि room occupancy करनी होती है. Anything,
Hmm.
as long as
Hmm.
you keep filling your rooms, that is fine. As long as you get repeat customers and word of mouth, that is fine. All those standard things I know. But having run operated this for years, what are the things you think कि लोगों को पता ही नहीं है अगर जिसने चलाया नहीं है? What things should I be aware of?
People, people. Number one, people, people, people. Oh God, people. Keep your people happy. Select good people. And even if you are over hiring, if you think that you're losing money on too many people, also it's still worth it. Make sure your people are really, really happy. They will own and run the place. They will that kind of ownership that you can create through that. There's one way, like I remember someone saying this. I don't know where I read it, or I don't know if I heard someone say that there's one way is to lead by fear. You just sort of put the, and it can be just fear of anything, right? I mean
Okay,
that, like, जैसे आप काम कर रहे हो, so there's so much that you want in life for you, for your children, so you hold on to a job sometimes for those kind of reasons, right? And you're
right,
leading, and an employee is in that place knowing that it's a job. uh, but on the other side, if you're here and you've empowered your people, and you've taken care of them really well, from a hotel business point of view, I can tell you, this is not that there's no checks and balances. There are, of course, checks and balances. But if your people are really well looked after, and if you've chosen them wisely, and they have good training, that is like the most important thing. I have seen hotels, cafes, resorts with possibly not so great views, not so great rooms, not luxurious enough, but just the warmth with which people greet you, the warmth with which they are welcoming you to their space makes all the difference. People and
right,
training.
yeah.
is
And I
what
think
will
that
set.
works with what you were saying previously, that it's the experience that count, it's the stories that count, and that's what people are there for.
Hmm.
They're
Hmm.
not there to clock hours कि मैंने इतने 3 दिन यहाँ पर कर लिए, big deal.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
what
yeah, yeah,
we take
yeah, yeah.
away from that
Yeah.
place.
A lot of the reviews, if you go through the reviews, you'll see that everyone talks about the people here, how warm they are, how nice they are, how amazing that is. And I feel
Yes.
that to the point where someone actually asked me one day that how can anyone be so nice? Everyone here is so warm. Is it actually real? So I told them that they're just simple village folk. They don't know to
Yeah.
behave another way. So we haven't trained them to be like your five-star, how are you doing today, sir? They don't greet you like that. I keep that rawness intact because that is what lends itself that authenticity. And in today's day and age, I really feel like kindness is something that is a very is a trait which is scarce. And you show a little kindness to people, you show that little warmth, and you mean it, and it comes from the heart. That makes all the difference. So
Absolutely, and
yeah.
that's what differentiates increasingly man and machine, or
Hmm.
humans with AI that's coming, or previously machine learning and automation. That's the only thing that at this point differentiates. But what I did
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
show,
yeah.
Vix, you had put in the site. Which site was that? TripAdvisor. And I thought
Mhm.
when you were showing TripAdvisor, I thought the pictures did not do any justice. Of course, we've seen some part of it, Rashmi. So the way some of your employees, or I'd call them human partners in a way, is that they were putting those
It's a
lighting,
nice
and
choice of words.
it just felt like दिल से कर रहे हैं, मतलब they're not doing it कि मेरे को इससे पैसे मिलेंगे आज शाम को, और
Mm,
या महीने के
mm,
एंड पे. They were doing it because they
yeah.
wanted to do that, and that's what differentiates the thing. But I just wanted to share my screen because I was on your site, which is called cranganor.com, history cafe and Riverside Chateau. And what I really wanted to show is
Yeah.
you were talking about live
चलो
performances
दिखाती हूँ
that struck
तुमको.
my eye. It- I mean,
Mm.
things like
That's the one that
this.
I'm talking
That is
about.
what. That's the experiences. That's the stories that
Mm.
people would come for. It's like whether it's folk
If you
songs
scroll up,
and
you
things
see the
like
one with
that.
the fire. Can you see the one with the fire? That deer skin,
Yes,
that
this
that's
one.
made from that's shadow puppet, the shadow puppetry. I'm sure if you
Yes,
went to
yes.
Bali, you would have seen this. And
I
it's
haven't.
it's it's
I actually, when I mentioned, so I have a very close friend who was moved to Singapore, and he started buying Airbnbs in Bali. He first made his own, and now he's got like 10 of them, and he's renting them out. so so Bali is my next thing, but probably I'll come to Cranganore before that. It's closer.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that puppet that they're using, that actually originally about 200 years old, original deer skin. So it's been
Wow.
passed on through generations. Yeah.
Wow, wow. And you have this tab called cuisine. That caught my
Hmm.
eye. I mean, I'm a bit of a foodie,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Bring it on.
yeah, you've got like something that if the photos, if the culture, if that didn't catch you, then this definitely will.
अरे सच्चाई तो यही है, खाने के लिए ही लोग आते हैं. आई हैव गॉट वन होल
Exactly.
सीरीज फॉर कॉल्ड किचन डायरीज एंड वी हैव गॉट पीपल सेइंग इसको कैसे बनाते हैं, उसको कैसे बनाते हैं, एंड माय शेफ हैज बीन लाइक आई मीन I'm the best employer in the world. The perks I give has to be the best. I hold my chef tight because the number of people who try to poach him and all
Yeah.
the chechis. And so my kitchen is very interesting. I call it the chechi model. Okay,
Okay.
because what I do is my entire place is populated by chechis, and these are women who would otherwise not have worked, or else they would have had to travel several kilometers to get to work. So they're all very happy over here, and we do shift system. So I've got like half the villages in my kitchen. I am by
Wow.
proper MBA standards, I'm very badly overstaffed, but it
And
works
these
very well
women,
for
are
them.
their husbands fishermen?
Most of them, yes,
Yeah.
fishermen,
I mean,
tailors.
you're probably getting the best catch of the day then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do. That also happens. So one of them will call the husband and say that we need this fish. We don't have this fish, and he'll come
Hmm.
and hand it over to the guest, who's like, oh, "Am I eating that?"
I mean, I can only summarize, Rashmi. I think what you're doing there is so almost a decade ago, 9 years ago. from private equity, I got into what's called impact investing now. And my reason, it kind of it reminds me of what was doing good is good business. That was my starting point. And then for impact investing, it was like if you invest in things that help the world, then they will succeed sooner or later. And I can sense that from your hotel and resort perspective, it's like if you get your employees who are doing it from their heart, if you get people, your customers, the visitors to have great experiences and stories, then what could go wrong? Of course there are things like extraneous circumstances like floods and debt and all
Yeah.
that. Of course you have to manage that. That's imperative, but yeah, sooner or later, I mean, it has to come together. And yeah, hats off.
Thank
No,
you. Thank
just
you very much.
wonderful. And I'm looking at the prices. How did you manage to keep it so reasonable?
But initially, the idea was that uh, you don't want, very often you come to a far flung place like this. It's not like you have too many restaurants over here. So I don't want
Yeah,
someone coming in to think that you're held captive and then there's these huge prices. And
yeah,
we've all been victim to that, right? You go and
Yeah, yeah,
you're captive in that place. You can eat only there and the prices are so exorbitant. You
yeah,
come away feeling like,
yeah.
you've been cheated. And I didn't want
exactly.
that. It
It's
came
like
from that place.
that fleecing thing. Even if
हाँ,
everything
वो
is
बुरा लगता
perfect,
है।
वो उसके
Yeah.
बाद,
Mm, mm.
once you get that thought, उसके बाद game
वो
over
जाता
at
नहीं
least
है,
with that
गेम
customer.
absolutely, absolutely. So that's where it came from originally, but then that said, I think they can do with a little bit of a
नहीं,
hike.
Rashmi, I'll tell you, don't get too many MBAs involved in pricing and things like that, because then you lose the soul that you already have going for you.
No, I think that's
Hmm.
so important. This place does seem like the the entrepreneur is making the decisions. Like the entrepreneur is saying, "Hey, I don't like it when I go to some other place, so I'm not gonna have the same issue at my place."
Yeah, because I feel like with all the soul searching conversation that I'm having, I'm showcasing. I've got my artisans coming in every time. You'll see one drummer going in. You'll see one someone with that bugle coming outside, and there's temple festivals. You can hear it, and then me having these really exorbitant prices for food. It just doesn't go together.
That
But then
makes
at the
sense.
same time, it has to be viable as well. So yeah, there'll be a
Sure.
little bit of revision. Yeah,
Tell us about how you chose the name Cranganor, because Cranganor has a
is
very
a little
historical meaning. The
difficult.
word, it's
Yeah,
a
it's
Jewish word,
actually
right?
it's the Portuguese name for Kodungalur, which is where this area is. So
Okay.
it's their name for that area, Cranganor.
So you've got a
Okay.
So
Portuguese
that's where,
name with a Dutch architecture
which with
in
the
a
Dutch
local
architecture. Yeah,
place.
yeah,
Triangulation. Yeah, nice, nice.
yeah. No,
I
this
think that's
place is.
great. I think that's a great segue into what Vix was starting to ask you about family. And since you've seen Chandani's episode before this, uh, so there is this whole thing about managing work, family, uh, husbands.
Hmm.
How do you manage all this? How are you able to set this up? I'm guessing you did it together rather than just you. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, we did it together. We set up the whole place together, and then because of COVID, everything just blew up, and
yeah.
then everyone it all settled into what it is today,
मैं एक
with me handling all
ट्रिकी
of this.
क्वेश्चन पूछने वाला हूँ. So as VCs, one of the thumb rules of investing is
Mm-hmm.
never invest in a husband wife team,
हाँ,
क्योंकि sooner or
क्यों?
later कुछ तो गड़बड़ होने वाली है. मतलब it's like two founders invest in founder pairs, but शादी नहीं होनी चाहिए उनकी, क्योंकि फिर आप एक नई कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी कर रहे हो. So how did you manage as a husband wife team to set up an entrepreneurial venture?
यार बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है दिस स्टडी आई वुड लाइक टू हियर विथ मोर डेटा um I think we didn't, to be fair, I don't think we spend that much time. I will not give us too much credit. I don't think we spend that much time together. इतने में COVID आ गया, पहले floods, and I think we
हाँ,
work very well in crisis. That time we work very well. Peace time में इतना अच्छा वो काम करो ना करो, but
हाँ,
crisis में we both work very well together. So
yeah.
and there was that, and then we were pretty much battling one crisis to another. First the floods, and then COVID, and then by the time it was peace time, we'd already made the decision that it's better for one person to hold fort and the other person to manage, be the entrepreneur, because two people, entrepreneur, two kids, still middle school, and the other one was kindergarten almost. That it was too much of sleepless nights. So that's the division post COVID that we've and it's
So
working
your
well for us
summary
now.
is कि crisis helped you uh, the most. So that's the silver lining, isn't it? Of whether it's floods or COVID and
I
things
think
that.
every pair, it may
Mm,
be a marriage or it could be friendship, it could be partnership. There's some space, you have to dig deep into your way of working and their way of working and where you actually meet. But there is some space that is yours. That is very, 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 very sweet space where the two people together work very well. एक वो सिंक आ जाता है, एक वो एनर्जीज मैच हो जाते हैं. सम देर आर, दिस होल्ड्स ट्रू फॉर any combination. It can be marriage, it can be friends, it can be parents, it can be any partnership. There is that sweet space. If you figure out that sweet space, I think.
Rasmi, do you live at the resort or do you live in Kochi?
I actually live in Bangalore. So I live in two places. I live, when
Okay,
I'm here, half the month I'm here, half the month I'm in Bangalore. So I am
okay.
literally 50% of my
is,
time is
is
spent
is
at the
Bangalore
resort.
where
And
Seamstress is based? Is that Seamstress?
no, Bangalore is, we moved back to Bangalore at that point of time, not knowing what would happen. And now the kids are studying there, so I don't want to upset. I
Okay,
mean,
yeah.
one kid is studying there, so I don't want to upset the apple cart. So then she's there, and
Mm.
I travel to work over here. So I work from home when I'm there, and then the remainder I'm here. So it's
And
literally 15 days a month.
and you were talking about this division of responsibilities between you and Vineet. So how
Mm-hmm.
does it work? So did Vineet go back to the industry, or is
Yes, 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 yes. So
okay?
post COVID, it was not part of the plan. The plan
Okay,
originally was for us to expand, like you were asking me earlier, what is your vision? So at that
yes.
point of time, the plan was for us to buy more. We were even in talks with someone who wanted us to restore a heritage property and set
Hmm.
up the same exact model, because I also have Seamstress here right behind me. You can't see it now. Right behind me is the Seamstress store, and the Seamstress
Okay.
workshop is on the other side. So it's actually a great model in the sense that someone comes here, I can even like customize a shirt for you. You have a favorite shirt, I can turn it around
Hmm.
and give it to you in a day's time, or or you can just see the
Hmm.
craftsmen at work. You can go see the weavers. You can just see like
Hmm.
the life cycle of
Wow.
a garment from the yarn being boiled and dyed to
Wow.
what it is, like what I'm
Wow.
wearing right now, say. So they wanted to replicate the entire model. That's what we were working on when COVID happened. And I'm being really brutally honest. I lost my nerve. I was too frightened at that point. I was chicken. Maybe could we have held on is a question that you can ask, but I was too chicken, and also this opportunity came up, so we went back, and now it's like this right now with me handling both the businesses, and we put expansion plans on hold, and that's, yeah. So he's with Adani right now.
And I think
Nice.
that's fair because I remember it doesn't seem that long ago, although it's like nearly 4 years ago when it came, and no one knew what's going to happen with the world, at least for the first 6 months.
Yeah,
And then I can believe, I mean, for me and for a lot of others, work went on because we could do it through Zoom and stuff. But resort, which is a people business, and guests actually physically have to come. They can't come on Zoom, can they? So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, I can understand I if I were to, even with the benefit of hindsight, look back, I think you took the right decision. You have to do that um, uh, risk mitigation.
Hmm.
Rashmi, the audience for your resort, is it mostly people from India or is it mostly people from Middle East or from Europe or from
It's
US?
mostly UK, France. I so pre-COVID, it was like what 60% UK, France, Italy. Bulk was
Okay,
UK, still is. Post COVID, I think domestic travel has increased
okay.
substantially. So I would say more domestic, and that's Bangalore, Bombay. These are my main places, and then the UK. And
So,
Kerala is very well marketed in the UK market. So they are,
okay,
so there's the Golden Triangle. We have to fight with the Golden Triangle, of course,
yeah,
but Kerala is very much part of the mm, uh, like the known circuit. It's on the bucket list
okay,
for a lot of people.
okay, okay. And how much time does this business still take from you in a week? Like, once you've set it up, is it on autopilot? Can the managers run it?
Yeah,
Or do
yeah,
you,
yeah. For day-to-day ops, I am not required. I've structured it in
okay,
such a way that for day-to-day operations, I'm not required. I am here for um mm, strategy. And so a lot of the daily ops I like doing, but if I don't do it, it's not like it won't get done, because there's
Okay.
always someone. um, uh, I mean, staff will take care of it, but I like doing it. Like, for example, I make sure that when I'm here, I talk to everyone. I like meeting people. It's a great place to talk to different people. And it's also a great way for you to figure out, what are people's drivers and why have they come here. And uh, that, um, I don't know, I think there's a little bit of a storyteller inside me. So I'm always hap- uh, curious about, what makes people tick and why they're here. And uh, uh, otherwise, I'm like, say, for example, we're setting up something just right now. For example, let's say I'm working on setting up a Ayurveda program, so a
Okay.
package of sorts. So I've in talks with a couple of doctors, and setting that whole thing up. How to structure it, how many people do I need to recruit for this, and how does it work, and uh, what's the infrastructure that I need to have for that. So there's a lot of conversation around that, and also setting up the earlier thing that I told you about, an artist school, um, and how so it's like a backward integration of sorts. So if I uh, give, what do you say, if I'm investing in their training, then these are artists who are also available to kind of demonstrate and give immersive experiences to the guests.
And
So yeah,
Rashmi, the
that's what.
Ayurveda part, is that like
Mhm.
in in line with the resort, where it's almost like a spa break, Ayurvedic spa break that you might be marketing, or is it separate?
So far, we've had Ayurveda here, but it's almost been like a good to have experience. But what I want it to be is more than that, because Ayurveda is much, much more than that. It can, if what I want is for, like, say, you guys to come and do a wellness for about 10 days, and this will mean the doctor checking and seeing what are your illnesses, and then prescribing different treatments based on that. It could be oil based, it could be, the herbs would vary from that are being used would vary from for both of you. The kashayas that you're drinking would vary, the treatments would vary. And so that's what I want to move into, because that is well and truly something that's a beautiful, I would call it science. I don't know if,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
there
think it
would
is
be
science,
people
and
who
then, of
yeah,
course, not everyone agrees.
agrees
But
exactly.
tell me this thing. This might be a slight tangent. Do you
Sure.
see some tie-ups with the Indian government's push with the Ayush Ministry? Do you see that helping you, and is that something you want to do in future? Maybe not right
Yeah,
away,
sure, sure, of course, that would greatly help.
because I know I'm sitting like 5,000 miles away, and I see
Mm.
I'm quite encouraged that at least at for the first time uh, since independence, someone is actually taking. I don't know how what their effectiveness is, but set up a ministry called Ayush Ministry, which is Indian roots and Indian medicine, and they're, I mean, I know it doesn't fully fit into the Western concept of medicine, but then so what? It is Indian medicine. It's 5,000 years old, probably
Yeah,
older than
yeah.
that.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Rashmi,
that also reminds me of something. Uh, if you remember, Nobel laureate, I forget the name. They won for in biology for circadian rhythms. And the first time I heard about that, I was like, यार ये तो आयुर्वेदा में लिखा हुआ था ना, वो 5,000 साल पहले सर्केडियन रिदम्स इन्होंने इन्वेंट करा है, इन्होंने डिस्कवर किया है, क्या किया है, मतलब किस पे नोबेल प्राइज मिला है?
No, and there's something which is so Ayurveda believes that the gut is the brain of the body, and
या
if your
अभी
gut
अभी
is
तो
not
वेस्टर्न
okay,
मेडिसिन में वो गट हेल्थ तो सबसे पॉपुलर हो गया आजकल.
हम लोग मजाक उड़ाते थे ऐसे as kids, because we would
एग्जैक्टली.
go to an Ayurvedic doctor and they would say सर में दर्द हो रहा है, and then they would say अच्छा बेटा पेट के लिए ये खा लो, and we'd be like यार ये क्या डॉक्टर है, क्या खिला रहा है, क्या कर रहा है. And now Western medicine says that the gut is the way to solving all your problems, and Ayurveda has been saying it forever. See, uh, I will not say that it's a 100% complete science. Would you? I mean, it has its place, let's say, from a wellness, detox, rejuvenation point of view. And I've done it myself. I've gone through several programs myself, and I know that it well and truly does work. You do feel different. That
Yes.
investment of time that you put into your body, it definitely does do wonders for you to feel. And it's something like what Chani was also talking about, like अब हमारा ये उम्र भी आ गया है that we should possibly look at things in a spiritual manner, and
Yes.
Ayurveda does do that. You're bringing in कोई भी religion, चाहे कुछ भी हो, whichever one it is, and when it comes from a place of there's so much uh, peace in it.
I think so. I think so. I mean, there are small things like which have been around in not Western medicine, but in the spa segment of medicine, which is aromatherapy and this and that, which may not have scientific proof, but it's the experiential proof. Did you feel nice after doing that? And if you did, then उससे ज़्यादा और क्या proof चाहिए आपको?
Absolutely.
So Rasmi,
Mhm.
I'm part of a group of people here in Silicon Valley who feel that India is on a path, is on a very huge growth path for the next 10, 20, 30 years. And lifestyle experience like yours fits into that story. That as the
Mhm.
Indian growth path happens in the next 30 years, it would be resorts like you that people want
Mhm.
to come and visit.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
say if I was to, I know that I can talk to a couple of people here and say, hey, let's put together $20 million, which is around say 150 crores,
Mhm.
and give it to this entrepreneur in Kochi, and let's ride this journey with her
Mhm.
as she expands from say a 7 room to maybe have a small property on the island, like you were saying. You need to
Mhm.
be away from the water from all sides, so you only have a
Mhm.
small
Mhm.
area. Maybe have a river cruise experience there. Maybe
Mhm.
have 2 or 3 other properties from where maybe boats get together at 7 p.m. in the evening for some community event. What rate of return can a business like this produce? Can I tell them that is 15% a rate of return that I can tell them that this business will bring in,
Yeah,
or
I
is
think
that
so. 15. Yeah, I'll have to I'll have to do a little bit of number crunching to tell you exact figures, but I think 15 is fair.
yeah? So I think there's a lot of money sloshing around, at least in London and Silicon Valley.
Mm.
The experience that you're offering, I cannot get that experience without getting on a flight. Like the closest I have to go to is Hawaii, which is a 6 hour flight to get
Mhm.
out of this buzz that's out here in the air, and just be calm and peaceful. So the experience that you're offering is just wonderful. I was just looking at flights right now, and I can actually get to your resort in 22 hours. So,
Cam?
and if I yeah, I will. And if I and I wanted to ask you a subsequent
Mhm.
question, that can you actually run into the river, or like can you actually just run into the river and jump in, or is it like
I wouldn't. So we used to swim across and back. I don't recommend it. We
yeah,
stopped now because I don't want the guests to be inspired. It's a sheer drop somewhere in the middle. It becomes 30 feet. So I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, I'll have my kayaks ready for rescue. You want to
yeah,
come in and run into the river, where I'll
yeah?
be all set
So the
for you.
water is clean. It's not one
Yeah,
of
yeah,
those.
yeah.
The water is
Absolutely.
clean, and you can get in the water and
There's
play.
no, we
And
do not, no dumping happens into the river at all. Of course, there is stray garbage, that does
sure,
happen, but the panchayat is really good, and people are civic sense is really good here.
wow,
There's no like sewage dumping into the river. There's no just
yeah,
general dumping also into the river. It's clean.
yeah. So I think. With Mix in London and me in Silicon Valley, I can tell you what you're offering is like a desperately felt need in our
I
cities.
do, I do.
It's like a desperately felt need.
I know.
And with Indian economy, the thesis being that the Indian economy will go from 3 trillion to $20 trillion in the next 30 years.
Hmm.
Like if you were to come back, just do some back of the envelope calculations and tell me that yeah, because I think 15% return for investors is a reasonable return we can promise. I think putting together 100 crore investment to someone who with your background is a very reasonable the people who'd be investing, they'd be thanking me. They'd be like, "Wow," you know. So I think
So, Rashmi, very quickly. So, there is one part that we uh, missed. We just started discussing, and I want to go back into pre IIM Bangalore.
Hmm.
You came from Bahrain. You were there
Mm-hmm.
because of your dad's posting. Then you came to small time Kerala, and you had already mentioned that okay, is sabse karna hai. How did you prepare for it? As in a small town. I mean, if no one else was preparing for it, how did you find? Um, I know you and Vineet got together somehow and started preparing together. कैसे किया? Tell us a bit more about that.
So I think I moved to Chennai for a bit because there was nothing available. So I think I had to move to a larger city to actually prep, because the question you asked is right. I mean, there was literally nothing. I just decided on it, and I think I spent like about 3 months in Chennai to sort of prepare.
And your
And
parents
then
were
what was
easy with that.
IMS?
Your
yes,
It
parents were
was
fine
IMS.
with it.
I used IMS also
IMS.
to
Ha
prepare.
ha ha
Yeah,
ha.
yeah. So
क्या
they
था
sent
IMS.
IMS?
those. So
Sounds
they sent.
familiar. I've forgotten.
Yeah, yeah.
हाँ
So
हाँ,
I
ये ऐसे
think
पेपर आते थे यार, ऐसे बड़ा
back in
बंडल.
nineteen
हाँ.
ninety seven, like I paid like 3,500 rupees or kuch paisa, and then they used to like it was they sent us some material in the mail, and they sent us a lot of material, but I zeroed down into two books. One was a 100 page ka math book and 100 page ka vocab book, and
Okay.
then I just went through those, and I think for 3 months I must have put in like 7 or 8 hours every day for 90 days.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was
my
mainly
yeah.
IMS, and then फिर मुझे लास्ट I was feeling a little nervous यार, पता नहीं कुछ होगा या नहीं. So then I think for that last couple of months I moved to Chennai and joined one
So
career
Chennai, were your
plan.
parents easy with it? They were happy to send you to
No,
Chennai कि मेरी बेटी
you
IIM
can't.
जाएगी.
No, because you can't stay in a hostel. लड़के ऐसे hostel में नहीं रहते. So then we went and stayed in some aunt's place and all that.
But you were driven enough कि मेरे को तो IIM
Yeah.
जाना है. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. At
going
that
three
point, I think
three
actually moving
months.
to Chennai made all that difference, because you're living in this house with this uncle who's frowning at you. And then I said, listen, हर हालत में I will study and get out of this.
So 3 महीने
So,
Chennai, was that enough for you for the cat?
I know I was already working on IMS, right?
Okay.
On
So
the
so you've
IMS
done
papers.
IMS and this was the finishing course. फिर cat हुआ
Yeah, yeah.
दिसंबर में and then you got a lot of calls. या सिर्फ
Hmm.
कहाँ से
Hmm.
calls आई?
No, I got ABCL.
ABCL and then interview prep
I
कैसे
did
किया?
not I did not convert A, बाकी सब convert हो गया.
इंटरव्यू प्रेप कैसे किया? अच्छा ही हुआ ये नहीं कन्वर्ट हुआ, बैंगलोर में आप आ गए.
Yeah, lucky for us.
Interview prep, I think, like the rest of us, we all sat, a lot of us friends got together, and then we would just sort of be interviewers for the other. And that's what I remember right now. A lot of us got together and we were all preparing together, both for group discussions. We would have group discussions
Hmm.
and interview prep. किसी के घर में या ऐसे ही in one of these places only we would meet and do these mock interviews. How did you
Right.
guys do it?
मुझे
I
तो
thought
That's
याद
a
everyone
नहीं
did
है,
long.
it.
बट एक जीडी होता था जो अब apparently from what we heard a
हाँ.
few episodes back from Saurabh Mukherjee, इसकी अभी जीडी है ही नहीं. And for me the biggest stressor used to be जीडी. यार
Yeah,
इतने सारे लोगों के साथ
seriously.
आर्ग्यू करना है कैसे उस मैंने सिर्फ जीडी के लिए प्रेप किया था. इंटरव्यू के लिए क्या था कि यार बता देंगे जो पूछेंगे, मतलब छुपाना थोड़ी ना है.
Correct. And I remember GD where I had figured out this one thing. Sometimes what happens if there's a topic that you have no idea about कि क्या बोल रहे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा, because that is a possibility. तो क्या करो? Just be quiet for some time and then summarize other people's points.
That was
I think
exactly
that's what.
my approach.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what someone told me. I was like, ठीक है यार ये वाला रोल हमारे लिए बेस्ट है.
yeah. हाँ,
ये
correct,
एंड में
correct.
समराइज कर देंगे. एंड आई यूज्ड टू टेक एट दैट टाइम
हाँ,
अ पेन एंड अ नोटबुक कि सब उसने ये बोला एंड इमीडिएटली टाइमर लगा दिया 5 मिनट पहले. ओके
हाँ.
फ्रेंड्स ये करें. आई थिंक हम सब आई एम बैंगलोर यही चक्कर में
Yeah,
ये
yeah,
सारे
yeah.
समराइज करने में ही पहुंच गए हैं. मुझे
So,
आई
and
कैन
I
सी
remember.
वर यू आल्सो द समराइजर?
Are you asking me, Mix?
या वर यू आल्सो
Yeah, no,
समराइजर?
I actually did not prepare for group discussion or interviews, but I remember going to a group discussion. It was like start, and everybody started running
Yeah.
like 100-meter race. And
Correct, correct, correct.
I think the reason I got selected into IIM Bangalore, we had Professor Mithleshwar Jha and Jishnu Hajra. These were the two professors who were part of my group discussion selection room. And one of the guys said 5 minutes into that, ki, like we can all see, everybody is just fighting here to get their word in. We have achieved nothing. And I think, I don't know where that inspiration came from. I said, no, we have achieved a lot. Look, this is what we have done. In
And summarization.
Okay, so you
the,
were selected based on a positive outlook person. कि यार ये बहुत
based
ही
on the
Yeah.
positive outlook that this guy, yes, that
Yeah.
and I don't know like where that came from, but I think that's what got me the I'm Bangalore call. That oh look, we
No,
have done
I
so much,
quite
we have
felt
achieved
that
so
of
much.
what Rashmi said. I got reminded कि मैं भी summarizer था कि यार दो तीन टॉपिक पढ़ लिए थे and then we used to be कि चल यार नहीं होगा तो कोई बात नहीं बाकियों का सुन के summarize कर देंगे.
करेक्ट, करेक्ट एंड आई रिमेंबर वन ऑफ देम सेइंग कोई एक क्लास में हम लोग गए थे कहीं तो प्रिपेयर करने के लिए सो दैट पर्सन सेज हर हालत में लड़ाई मत करना डू नॉट गेट इनटू अ पॉलिटिकल डिस्कशन ये बहुत लाइक लड़ाई यार पता चले दो सेंटेंस दो शब्द बोल पाए बहुत बड़ी बात है लड़ाई एंड ऑल बहुत दूर की बात है
Yeah.
How was your experience at I'm Bangalore, Rashmi? How did you were one of the
wonderful
20
lovely
girls. You
yeah
liked
yeah that
it?
was a bit of
Yeah.
a shocker because I had come in from an all girls college so that was a
Okay.
shocker the
Yeah.
first thing I saw इतने सारे boys I had not seen in one go so that was quite that
Yeah.
took a little getting used to
अगर अगर
but
IIMB में इतने सारे बॉयज थे तो सोचो IIM कैलकाटा में उस टाइम पे जाते तो क्या होता.
I think there's another reasons also. I think somebody told me also कि बहुत boys. I said no, no, we'll settle for the lesser
So
boy.
I'm Calcutta has had even less number of
Yeah,
girls
yeah,
than
yeah.
Bangalore.
IIM
Apparently,
Bangalore is like
apparently.
by far. I remember in
Yeah,
'98
yeah, yeah. I had
and
the best
at that
ratio.
era,
Okay.
it like by far significantly more girls than
Yeah,
anyone else.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Easily.
And the other thing was because IIM Bangalore also had significantly less as a strategy, as a policy, less
Mm.
IT or engineers. If you see our batch and that, I mean, that is, and someone was forwarding me the other days. Apparently, they've done now 20 years, 25 years later, in when they changed that policy in the mid 90s, that actually the girls and the non-engineers have done better than the historically IIT and other engineering colleges people. So I am Bangalore. I think led the way a lot in that. But हाँ तो तुम्हें लगा कि यार 20 लड़कियां ही हैं. I think
Yeah, yeah,
25
yeah.
या 20 30 थी
28,
हमारी.
28, 28 was the
28.
number.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, there were
Okay.
28 girls in our class.
Mm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah,
28 out
yeah,
of
yeah.
like 180 odd.
180,
Yeah.
180. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that
So,
was a bit.
You had a
so
culture
Rasmi,
shock.
your elder daughter, she's in college now.
Yeah.
Tell us about her. Does she want to come and join you in your journey, or does she want to go work for a corporate sector? How is she like? And
So, strangely enough, or maybe not very strangely enough, she's doing a Bachelor of Design in IIT Hyderabad. So there are a couple of IITs which offer this program. So uh, she's always shown a predisposition towards design, though not textile. She says very clearly because I think kids have this thing that I'm not doing what you're doing, so it's not going to be textile for sure. So I said, okay, fine. I mean, we don't have to look at it like that. Let's just learn design, and then we can always decide what stream we want to at a later stage. So she's quite happy. She's enjoying the course, and I think I'm vicariously enjoying the course through her because it does seem amazing. They're learning everything from graphic design to photography to film scripts, and it's an amazing course there.
so,
Um,
how much time? Because she's in Hyderabad, do you get to see her often? Because you most of the time in Bangalore and Kochi, and she's in Hyderabad, so you only get to see her for the holidays, or do you also get to see her for the weekends?
no, weekends not. So initially, when she went off, I think like all parents, where the kid flies off the nest, you're literally not ready to do that. And I think I was holding on to her by her legs and crying. I think in the last 1 month, I must have spent crying every day. But once I would visit maybe like once a month at least, and I realized that she was so busy that it just doesn't, there was just so many activities that it doesn't make any sense to do that. But so she comes over on whenever her holidays are, and holidays are fairly long. It's not so empty also. Nest इतना भी खाली नहीं है. घर पे आके पड़ी रहती है एक एक महीना. Summer vacation is 3 months and all that. So it's not yet time to start the empty nest crying. And nest तो अभी empty नहीं हुआ. I have a 13-year-old left. So yeah.
Sure.
Hmm.
And
And 13-year-old, that must be challenging on its own, right?
sure.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yes. And
13 year
also
old
for a
and
girl,
this
like,
generation is
yeah.
difficult. It's really difficult. I don't envy them the kind of the we had the luxury of growing up at a particular, I mean, we've had that space where you did not feel judged, where you did what you wanted to, you played without people or without having to project anything. They don't have the luxury of that, and it's not, parenting this generation is really difficult
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
And
but
them, for them.
let's be honest. I'm sure our parents thought a similar way. कि यार ये
Yeah, yeah,
नया
yeah, that's true, that
generation
is
है.
true. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, that is true.
yeah.
No, but I feel like even from my older daughter to my younger daughter, I feel like the older one still had that space where she actually
Hmm.
lived without social media. But not so the
Right.
younger one, right? There's no
Yeah.
existing without social media. And one can only control it. So I'm a very dragon mom. I have very severe clampdowns. But I seriously think that that is like the gift I can give my child, that have the space where you're free from all social media. And also, once they come here to Cranganor, which is like a lot of, because mostly all our holidays are spent here at work. So once they are here, it's different. They go back to their old routine of taking the canoe out and or kayaking or swimming or to their friends in the village and that sort of thing. So there's that. I'm glad that has happened for them.
is there another resort entrepreneur in India that
I'm
you
sure
can
there
look
are.
up?
I'm sure
No, there are a
that
lot
I
of
can look up
people.
to.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of people with single resorts. But is
Mhm.
there someone who has made it into into a brand that is beyond one resort? Maybe they resort in multiple states, or maybe they resort in multiple locations in the same state. Like,
Right in Kerala, you have CGH, the casino group of hotels, CGH Earth. They are actually brilliant, brilliant job these guys have done, and they
okay,
have everything. They have beach resorts. They have heritage converted heritage properties. They have naturopathy sort of farms.
okay.
They have Ayurvedic places, and they've managed to do it in a beautiful way, capturing the culture and the essence of the place
How
very
many
well.
resorts does this group have?
I would
CGH,
say at least 15, if not
and
more.
that's just in Kerala. They're only
That's just
Kerala based.
only Kerala. Yeah, and a little bit Tamil Nadu. I think Pondicherry and Chettinad also.
Okay. And why did they choose such a bad name? CGH, Casino Group.
I think it started
Like,
off as it was a casino hotel. There was just
okay,
one standalone hotel, and I think the second generation came in, and the father possibly started that just this one hotel, and the second generation came in and made it what it is today.
okay.
So at that point, I think they didn't want to lose the first name, but casino is obviously not a name that they wanted, so they made it
Yeah,
CGH Earth.
okay. And are casinos allowed in hotels in Kerala?
No, it's just a name. No, casinos are not
It's
allowed
just
here.
an okay, okay, okay. And is it a public company?
I think it is. I'm not certain. I think it is.
Okay,
No, no,
okay.
CG.
But you should
No.
get together with the investor guy mix
Mm,
here because I. It's about what you also want, right? Like, but if you
mm,
want it, there's a
mm.
clear path to having 15, 20 resorts and being public in 5 years. Like you can. It's very easy for to take the experience you have of having graduated from IIM Bangalore, having worked at Coca-Cola, HMV, done Seamstress, understanding the craftsmen, and now successfully running this. Because and so now the goal is replicating it 20 times, and once you replicate it 20 times, it's a story that the capital markets, that the retail investors want in. And I don't think there are a lot of people with your kind of background who can make that happen. Like, I think you're special. The soul, the having a seamstress on site, like, you know, for my daughter and my current partner. It's unbelievable if I tell them that you can see the loom getting boiled to a cloth that you can put on your body while we're on a 2 week vacation at a Cranganor resort. Like, that's mind blowing. So, investor guy, I think you should really talk offline with her and make that happen.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I think see a lot of it could be a buy and build. That's from my previous career. Right now, I do a lot of tech investing rather than brick and mortar. Uh, but from my previous career a few years ago, I can see a lot of yeah, acquisitive growth. But the most important thing, which is from where you were talking about, it's about the soul. It's about the the ethos of the company. It's about the
Mm,
ethos of the resort, and for that, the first one, maybe two or three, those are your litmus tests. And if you were able to do, like you were saying, it doesn't have to be in your current expansion. It could be
mm,
a mile away or 2 miles away, and then but then
mm,
within not walkable, but easily transportable distance, and then you can have a cultural hub somewhere, and so
mm,
on. I
mm,
wouldn't
mm,
at
mm,
this point go all the way to buying out an island. um,
mm,
but yeah, it's I personally believe in things like this. I believe in one step at a time.
mm, mm.
Yeah,
I,
walk
yeah.
before you run.
Mm,
Well, it's lovely.
sure.
It's that journey, Rashmi. I have to say it. I think I might have said it earlier. I think this is so inspiring. It is uh, so refreshing that you've taken a career path which, despite a lot of odds that you faced every few years, I can sense it, and we don't need to go through that again. But every
Mm,
few years you face something, and then you've come up good with it, and then a
mm,
few years later something else has come up, and a lot of those things have been out of your control, and so be it. It is out of your control, then और क्या कर सकते हो? But to withstand all the odds, come out well, and go for the next level. And I'm so glad that you've reached the space and the stage. uh, and I think it's all set for the next level of growth, in my opinion, from what I hear.
And this is just beautiful, Rashmi. I
thank you.
think hats off to you.
Thank you.
You have, and somehow I think it really jibes well with your personality. I think this whole
You think?
resort experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I see you sitting in front of this villa, and to my eyes, like, I see the same personality both in the villa and you. So it's like it's the continuum of
Thank you.
that
I know
personality.
it
So
feels like home. I mean, there would no other place
yeah,
that I would rather be like if when I come here from all the noise and dust of Bangalore. Though I do love Bangalore, uh, I'm here and I wonder that why am I anywhere else? And
yeah,
I'm always at my happiest here, creating uh,
yeah. I would
something.
really like to keep continuing the conversation, but I have to go and do things that you don't like, but you have to do. So let me
Sure.
Vix,
carry
do you
forward
have
with that.
daylight behind you? Do you have
Yes, I
daylight?
finally have daylight behind me. Yeah, finally have daylight
Perfect.
behind me. Yeah,
Good morning, then,
yeah. Good morning, Rashmi. So, Rashmi, you have. I want to visit the resort now. It's a matter of
and jump into the river.
and jump into the river. Oh my God! Now it's a matter of. Uh,
Vix, you are jumping
who,
into the river. What I have in mind from what Rashmi said, I think hostel style, we're probably going to make a 30 35 type of group, and then pile over each
Yeah.
other.
yeah,
And you can jump into
Uh,
yeah.
the river. We'll take pictures.
I,
correct. Correct.
I think 18 months, around 18 or 20 months from now, we are all meeting in Bangalore for our 25th anniversary. And I think we should float the idea. And me and Mix, we've already signed up, and I'm to visit your resort. And I think that'd be great. I think that'd be just a wonderful experience. So with
Sure.
that
ज्यादा
thought,
बुकिंग मत ले लेना उस टाइम के लिए, पहले से बता रहे हैं.
नहीं नहीं तो फिर हम लोग को अभी
Yeah,
से
we will
बुकिंग
do
कर
block
लेनी चाहिए
booking.
ना.
We
You
will do
can't.
block
हाँ,
booking.
we'll
Block.
do.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole place is blocked.
We'll just do a block booking. Of course, let's connect closer to the date before that
Mm.
thing thing comes, or क्योंकि अभी it's still 18 months.
Hmm.
So, but definitely keep that in mind. We will do block booking. Yes, no, yeah, Rashmi showed us the sunset and the river and everything. So
Nice.
maybe because of that, I didn't feel like jumping into the river, having seen the height. Uh,
Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
what are your last summarizing words to fresh MBAs from IIMs and other institutes, based on your career journey?
It would be to experiment in your career, not just stick to one path. Like when you get out of B school, you think that you know what you want, and that you think that there's a certain way, and almost by the time you decide, like agar sales and marketing career hai, for example, so people will tell you that you've got to do 2 years in sales and then move to marketing, or 3 years in sales and then marketing, and you must do category, and then you must do brand, and then you must do this, and there's like a path that's already charted out, and you just have to, like, do all of that. But I seriously think that learning about who you actually are comes from experimenting in your career and trying. I'm not saying to wildly go from one field to another, but I'm saying in that career itself, in the chosen path itself, if you could experiment working with different kind of organizations, like if it is marketing, then different kinds of organizations, different kind of product services example, then you get a better understanding of what you like. Because there's uh, I would just say spend the first 6 7 years learning, and then thinking about what is it that you actually want to do. Because mm, so very often I hear so many people say this. I hear so many people say this, that it's quite late in life that I realized that this is actually what I wanted to do, and I discovered my calling way too late in life. And possibly I say this to my children, I say this to the older one at least, that experiment right now, spread it wide, and learn as much as you can. You can always decide what you want to do at a later stage. There's no hurry, but learn and learn now. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's what I would
I
say.
honestly I say similar things to my kids, and my kids are much younger than yours. Uh, but at the same time, every time I tell them that, back of my mind is going कि यार मैंने कौन से अपने डैड की सुन ली थी. So so everyone learns.
That's true. Yeah,
Most people learn the hard way कि यार खुद करा, और फिर उसके बाद 10 साल बाद याद आया कि यार डैड ने बोला था या मम ने बोला था ऐसा, कि यार वो सुन लेना चाहिए था. And every
correct, correct,
generation
correct.
goes through that same thing every
Yeah,
time.
very true. Very, very true.
Yeah.